had that one teacher who believed in us.
Indeed.
Show your gratitude with Thank a Teacher, powered by Donors Choose. Nominate a public school teacher to win $5,000 for their classroom. This week, we want to give a shout out to Yvonne Lockmiller, who's been teaching for over 30 years. Nominate to Teacher Thank today at iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
If I were to name this song, you know what I'd call it? Ghostly, mostly. Or you could go mostly, ghostly, but I kind of like ghostly, mostly. What is the name of this little ditty by Jack and Diane?
Hazy Heat.
Hazy Heat. That works too. I like it a lot.
Felt like you listened to a lot of music like this back in the day.
Yeah, very similar to that. Very Haight-Ashbury like, wow, man, whole multicolored galaxy of uppers and downers and screamers and laughers. Did you know there's nothing more depraved than a man in the depths of an ether binge? Trust me, I know. As baby brother Peter would say, my bad. Rosen is out today. He made that announcement last week. They were at a weekend wedding, I think, in Florida or somewhere. So he's out of town until tomorrow, so he will join us then, but we'll get through it one way or another. Tenby, you just provided me with this story from sportsboom.us/NFL/exclusive. Jason La Canfora, he's plugged in.
Yeah.
He's kind of one of those
NFL insiders.
Yeah, who's the guy on Jay Glazer? He's got a little bit of Adam Schefter. And then who's
Ian Rappaport,
Palacero. And Tommy Palacero and Diana Rossini all mixed into one. This is an exclusive, according to him. Kirk Cousins' reunion with Vikings gathering momentum amid quarterback uncertainty. After a tumultuous tenure with Atlanta, Kirk Cousins may be headed back to the Vikings as they seek real quarterback competition. I wish it would have said Sam Darnold reunion with Vikings gathering momentum amid QB uncertainty. That's what I would have liked to have seen, but that's not going to happen. It says Cousins has an $80 million poison pill in his contract and is poised to explore other options. The Vikings are eager for change as they struggle to develop former first-round pick J.J. McCarthy. Despite interest from other teams, a reunion with Minnesota seems likely due to Cousins' fit and affection for the city. The NFL moves in mysterious ways, and just 2 years after Kirk Cousins left for Minnesota for a hefty contract in Atlanta, there is now growing sentiment among NFL executives in the market for quarterbacks that Cousins could very well end up with the Vikings. The story goes on to say a couple of different things, including Cousins went to the playoffs in Minnesota with Coach O'Connell. It's well known around the NFL how well those two work together. No secret in scouting circles that the Vikings are already looking for a real quarterback competition, with former first-round pick J.J. McCarthy struggling mightily in many aspects with injuries, consistency, accuracy, decision-making, and split personality. He thinks he's J.J. McCarthy by night, and then by day or by Sunday. 6 days a week, he's J.J. McCarthy. 1 day a week, he's 9. And while there's been some conjecture about Cousins' status, team sources who have reviewed his rework contract says there's an $80 million poison pill that kicks in on March 13 if Cousins is still on Atlanta's roster. He's absolutely going to be able to explore other options. One NFL general manager exploring a quarterback option said they can say what they want publicly, but they have some serious questions about McCarthy, is what he says. Look, they're signing somebody else to push him, and it's not just going to be some stiff on a vet minimum contract. And that had been my question all along. You know, we talked about there are not. I mean, you can't find really good quarterbacks to start for 32 teams, right? I mean, once you get past 6, 7, or for sure 13, 14, after that, most of those guys probably would be better suited as a backup, right? So, yeah, my question was, who's available? I mean, who would you bring in? And, you know, the one name that always comes up is Kyler Murray, because apparently he's kind of worn out his welcome with the Cardinals, but, you got to pay him a lot of money. You'd have to pay him more than would you have to have paid Sam Darnold, and I like Sam Darnold better than I like Kyler Murray. So, I don't know, but you wondered if they were just going to get some... I'm sorry, I almost consider Cousins a stiff. I'm sorry. I don't you? I mean, I don't look at him as like... he's long in the tooth. I mean, he's got talent. I mean, and I guess if he's in the exact right, he's like any of those guys. If you give him time to throw, he can carve a team up. We know that.
Can we give him time to throw?
But can we give him time to throw? I'd work on the offensive line is what I would work on more than anything. But, and here's what I find really interesting. It's weird how this works. I think I'm higher on J.J. McCarthy than the Vikings team is, and they were high on him before I was high on him.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I saw enough in those. Now, again, let's preface this by saying those last. How many wins? We won 5 in a row to end the season, right? We were 4-8, went 9-8.
Yeah.
Did he quarterback all of those games?
No.
How many of those did he quarterback? Because it seemed like
because Brosmer started against Detroit on Christmas.
That's right. My point is, I think he showed signs in the games that he started late in the year during that 5-6.
So I know he played the last game against Green Bay because he went against their backups.
Right.
And I remember him playing at Dallas because that was the one where he did the gritty across the goal line and coach didn't like that too much.
Right. And again, some of those results that, when he played better, I think I saw a stat that said in 3 of the Vikings' last 4 games, 3 of those teams were the worst, the worst 3 defensive pro. They were like 29, 30, and 31 ranked defensively. So, again, that's not his fault, but yeah, it's pretty hard, because you want results and you want them now, and you can't wait forever for a guy, this will be going into his 3rd year in the league. The first year was a washout because of the knee injury. And then last year he had the concussion, he had the hairline fracture, and then he had the sprained ankle, right? He had 3 injuries last year that kept him out of most of the games. And it's like, well, so we really don't know what we have, even though he showed signs, but you always have to remind yourself. Sam Darnold probably showed signs with the Jets a couple of times, and where did he go to Carolina? He probably showed some signs there. Most of these guys that get drafted have moments in the NFL in their first or second year before everybody determines, guy just isn't going to cut it, right? But they have stretches. There have been times where guys have played. My guess is, I don't have any numbers in front of me, guys that were drafted in the first round that are no longer in the league or never amounted to anything, had stretches where they looked really good, won football games, right?
Well, even if you thought J.J. McCarthy still could be a franchise quarterback in terms of skill and ability and progression, developing as a passer, you still have to worry about his ability to stay on the field.
Yeah.
On top of all the other stuff.
That is it. That's exactly right. And so... again, is there worse moves than Cousins, I guess? But then with Cousins, where is, you have to bring him into the building and talk to him, because if you'll remember, when he signed with Atlanta then surprised everybody by drafting Penix Jr. And apparently and most people agreed. I took a different tact on that. I'd look at Cousins and say, you don't have to worry about being pushed by him if you play well. And he was bitter, apparently, and upset because, well, why would you draft somebody? Because we don't know for sure about you. How many playoff wins do you have, Kirk? How many big game rings do you have, Kirk? We think you're really good, but we know there's eventually you will have to retire, or if you don't play well or get injured. I thought he's being a baby. I think anybody is being a baby. But now, again, I know you disagree with me, and a lot of other people do as well, and that's fine. But how does he feel now? Would he even want to come? I mean, what are they going to tell him? He's
not in the same leverage position that he was at that moment.
Well, he could be if there are several teams looking for him.
I don't think there's several teams out there going, we want Kirk Cousins to be our guy. I think it's, at best, he's in a competition mode. He's a couple years older than before. He's coming off an torn Achilles at an old age.
Right.
He hasn't looked as good in the last 2 years. He's just not in the same position he was when he first went to Atlanta. And even then, apparently, he wasn't in a good position because they went out and drafted a guy.
Well, what I'll say is you might be right.
He's just looking for the best chance now.
You might be right with all that.
And Minnesota might be that.
You might be correct. You might be spot on with that. I think he wants to start, and if he's not guaranteed.
Of course he wants to start.
And if he's not guaranteed to start, he ain't going to sign there.
Yeah, but if you're not guaranteed by anybody, you got to go somewhere.
There's 12 teams that have a good quarterback. The other, how many is that? The other 14 don't, and there are no good backs up.
That's terrible math.
12 and how many?
It's 32 teams.
Okay.
I would say on a given year, there's potentially like 10 openings.
So
on average,
I think there's one of those teams that would say, we'll let you start. I guarantee you that. We'll just have to agree to disagree. I guarantee.
I don't think that we're where he is in his career.
I think you'll see. If he's not guaranteed the starting job in Minnesota, he will not be here. Because another team will. And if they don't, you're right. If no other teams guarantee him a job, this would be probably his best spot. But I think he's looking for a guaranteed starting job, and there's enough desperate teams out there, I think, that would do that. We'll pause. We'll come back with a little Dish Out Loud here on the Common Man program on The Fan.
Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? We'll make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
Couple 13-14 pastime common. He's 10 to B. Mark Rosen will make his return tomorrow, just before 2 o'clock. Brian Oak will join us for Rock Talk at 1:15. Yesterday, we talked about a story in which Tom Pohlad, who is now the new Joe Pohlad, they relieved Joe of his duties. Tom took over. So he's making all these business and baseball decisions. He's the front guy of the club now. And he said, kind of surprised people, I thought, when he claimed over the weekend that the Twins had actually made a run at Framber Valdez, who? Well, apparently he was one of the better free agent pitchers available. I think I saw in The Athletic that they had ranked the top 20 free agents, and he might have been number 20. He was one of the last available. Pohlad claims they made a run. I mean, I'll take his word for it, though I think a lot of us are highly skeptical of that because it's easy to say, no, we tried. And then when you say we tried, he signed for 115, 3 years with Detroit. What did we offer? 3 years and $50 million. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, just because you offer somebody a deal doesn't mean it's realistic. You can still say we offered. He probably wishes they would have made a better offer, and he accepted after the news today. It looks like Lopez's and Pablo Lopez, who was injury riddled last year. I think he had shoulder, bicep, whatever. He had a couple of different arm issues. Apparently now Tenneby was at elbow. Is that was reported by Gleeman? And that it's possible. It's not. If I read that correctly, it's not certain he needs surgery. But if he does, he would be lost for the season. And look, he's our best pitcher on the team, Joe Ryan. I mean, you can go 1A, 1B with him and Joe Ryan. And without Lopez, now you're basically it used to be Spawn, Sane, Pray for Rain back when the old Milwaukee Braves days. I don't know what you would, I guess it would be Joe Ryan, and then you may as well start crying because there isn't much there. Does Bailey Ober come back? He had a couple of really good seasons as a starter for the Twins, and last year I think he spent some time injured and just wasn't as effective. And so now there's even less, and also in this story from, Gleeman wrote a story for The Athletic that says he said Pohlad's actions have yet to meet his words because he said we're going to contend. We're not, if you'll remember, Tenneby, he had said earlier, I wish people would stop talking about payroll. And then there was a lot of pushback there. He seems like, and I don't mind a guy changing his mind, but it sounds like he kind of just holds up his finger and decides which way the wind blows. Because he now claims they were trying to sign somebody for big money. They were talking about, let's forget about the payroll. We're going to see what we can do with the team we have. Says Pohla's actions have yet to match his words, and until they do, no Twins fan should be blamed for doubting bigger moves and bigger payrolls are on the way. At the moment, they're spending less on the roster relative to the rest of Major League Baseball than they have in 25 years. In no words, change that reality. Pohlad says, in a perfect world, would I love to have been in this role 6 months ago as we entered the normal cycle of free agency and have Jeremy Zoll as the GM in his spot? Yes, I would have loved that, but we are where we are. I got here 2 months ago, and we've done what we can do between now and then. Gleeman goes on to write, speaking to a small group of reporters Monday shortly after giving a clubhouse speech to the team, Pohlad confirmed the reports of their interest in Valdez and explained why, despite the starting pitching being the roster's closest thing to a strength, they pursued another frontline starter. He said, I think he was the best pitcher on the market at that point. We would have had a hell of a 1-2-3 punch, and it would be crazy not to look at it at this point. Showing rather than telling is the next step for Pohlad, and hearing that the Twins tried and failed to sign a prominent free agent ultimately isn't any more helpful to the 2026 team than not pursuing them at all. But it is intriguing for what the future could look like if Pohlad's actions catch up with his words. Here's what he said. I do know payroll matters to people, and that's what we're trying to do. I mean, if it wasn't just about it wasn't just about adding to the payroll. It was a decision that Zoll thought was in the best interest of the team, and if he thought that, then I was going to be willing to go there for us, which again is the opposite of what he tried. Remember, he had that comment about, you remember when Joe said right-sizing the payroll? That quote stuck with him until the day he walked out the door. This one from Tom Pohlad, I think, where he said, can we stop talking about the payroll? Now he's saying it is important. Because, it's all public relations with this team right now, because they've done most of their actions really since Carl went to the great beyond, and Jim and John and Bill and Rob and Chip and Ernie have taken over the team, and then Joe and now Tom. There really hasn't been much success to speak of. I know during the 2000s we had, we in a weak division, we won a few division championships, but if you remember, we never advanced. We had to crack an 0-for-18 slump in postseason play. That was just a few years ago, and it went nowhere after. That's when everybody got bitter, because after winning the postseason, they decided to cut payroll, right-sizing the payroll, and that's when people, even the Pohlad pocket protectors, at that point, I think they all had to feel a bit sheepish, because they all talked about how it's not about payroll, blah, 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 you can't fight again. Then they got all upset that the Twins, well, why? I thought you said it wasn't about money. And that the Pohlads, it's not a money thing. It's all about salary cap ceilings and floors and all that, which is a large part of it. But the rules are the rules, and so you have to make do with what it is. You either want to play with the big boys or you don't. And the Twins have never wanted to do that, and now Tom's kind of saying they're willing to. But even if he would have went out and got 115, let's just say this for easy math. I don't know how they construct their contracts, but I'm bad at math, as I proved before. What would be 115 spread over 3 years if he did it evenly? It's
about 38-ish.
So if they would have added 38 to a payroll, that's where right now? I mean, their payroll is under 100 million, I think. So that it wouldn't even have gotten to them to that 130, which I think last year they were 130 when the season started. So it wouldn't even have got them to that. So it's, it's like, I mean, I wouldn't have argued had they made that decision. If the Valdez guy is as good as people think, the athletic staff, I think, is pretty good at sifting through who the free agents are. If they think he was the 20th best free agent out there, I wouldn't criticize the poll. I'd be applauding them. But my point is it really that big of a deal when your payroll has already been slashed to the bone now anyways? And then you wonder, did they lowball Valdez? Because Detroit is not afraid to spend money. Did they lowball Valdez? And now they can just say, well, we tried. We tried. Well, yeah. Well, but did you really? Was it? We've talked about that before. Tend to be in other situations with other teams and other general managers, and not just here. Where if your offer really isn't competitive, then is it really an offer at all? I don't think it is. So I mean, how would you? Most guys are in it for the money. You want to win too, but unless the offer was really close and he looked at the two teams and said, and then if he did, he looks at it, well, Detroit's more well equipped to advance and win a division title than the Twins are. And then Pohlad got really mad again because, like, the over-under for Twins wins, I think, was like 73, and he said that's preposterous. It's ludicrous. And it's like, I said, I think so too, because I thought it was 65 was the over-under, is what I thought. So he's insulted by that and, thinks they have a good chance. And again, he admits he hasn't paid that close attention to base. He hasn't been a baseball guy. He's been doing other things. That's just selling hope. Well, I think we have a chance to be real competitive this year. What makes you think that? Unless Buxton has the same kind of year he had last year and stays healthy. Royce Lewis stays healthy and has a big year. Some of these other young players.
Pablo Lopez stays healthy.
Yeah, right. You needed him to stay healthy. You needed Joe Ryan. You needed Ober to bounce back. And then you're counting on some young arms to not just hold serve, but to actually get better. And then you're trying to rebuild a bullpen. It's anything can happen. I get it. And the Valdez would have been a nice move in that direction, but to believe that this team will be competitive, I don't know. It strains credulity as far as I'm concerned. We'll pause and return. One more segment to go. This is the Common Man program along with 10 to B. We're right here on the Fan. Chicago State University? Where is Ferris State University? Do you know? Ferris.
I should.
Yeah,
they're in the CCHA.
Yeah,
my guess it's in that. I think they're in Michigan.
Michigan. Ohio, Michigan.
Let me look.
I was in Michigan, down on the farm. I bring it up because I'm now subscribing to ferris.edu.
Yeah, Big Rapids, Michigan.
I'm now subscribed to ferris.edu/news/archive. Headline from a February 9th story, Tennessee says, Ferris grad and big game referee Sean Smith earns praise for being in command while officiating the championship game. From Big Rapids, Michigan, Dateline, it says, Ferris State University grad Sean Smith is earning solid marks for his job as head official of Sunday Super Bowl LX, with analysts saying he was in command of the championship game. He's a 94 grad, was the lead official for the game. As the ref wearing the white cap, he was in the spotlight making calls and appearing on camera before an estimated worldwide audience of 125 million viewers. Ben Ostro is founder and editor-in-chief of the Football Zebras website. They have their own website, Tennessee. I didn't know if you were aware of that. And he says, the crew showed up for this game and stayed on the outside and was present when needed. The crew has every reason to feel they earned their assignment and their big game rings. I guess the officials get rings as well. Sean Smith was in command for his first big game. It shouldn't be long before he returns. Mark Schultz, the website senior editor, noted the game won by the Seahawks didn't feature any calls that will go down in officiating lore. That said, Sean Smith and his crew called a good game. Here, now, I don't know, Tennessee, if this is a preposterous statement, but I love this. What Schultz said about Ferris State University grad and head official Sean Smith. I could tell Smith was nervous coming to the coin toss, but he kept his emotions in check and got the game started off on the right foot. He was nervous.
I always love that one.
Heading to the coin toss, but he kept his emotions in check and he got through it. And I'd be nervous too. The thing is, I wouldn't be as nervous on the coin because if you've noticed, they flip the coin and let it hit the ground. The nerves would really show if you and I were going to flip a coin where you'd flip it up and then catch it and then flip it over on the top of your opposite of the palm of your hand, on the top of your hand. What if the ref had to do that and then he just couldn't pull it off? He'd flip it, couldn't catch it, try to put it. That would be a show of nerves. It's hard to know if there's any nerves when you just let it fall to the ground and then call it heads or tails. Very controversial, but congratulations to Sean Smith. So I don't know if you paid any attention at all to the NBA All-Star Weekend. I did not, other than it was Stars versus Stripes. And Anthony Edwards earned the most valuable player. I still don't really know what they did. They had a series of games that lasted 12 minutes. Apparently they can't play for 48 anymore. They could play hard for 12, but not 48. But my favorite was when we talked about this in depth yesterday. I mean, I just went on and because I couldn't. I don't know if you saw the quote. Apparently, when the commissioner, Adam Silver, I think is his name.
Yes.
When he presented the trophy, he thanked the teams for playing hard. He said, "Thanks for trying harder." I mean, think of how sad that is, Tenneby, that he felt the first thing he had to say was to congratulate the team. Blakemore saved the audio for you. I don't know if he sent it to you. He was going to save it for you. So you could pass it on to the committee for PST next year. He actually thanked the team. I mean, hey, think about it. Hey, thanks for earning your pay and trying like you're supposed to. I mean, it's gotten so bad in the NBA that you have to be thanked by the commissioner for putting one foot in front of the other. And now that we're coming back from the All-Star break, we'll see how it goes. There's the other controversy where they want to change. They're trying to come up with a different way other than the ping pong balls, because apparently Barrera was telling me this, and I read a story about it. There are at least 9 teams that they believe are tanking intentionally to try
That's a lot.
to get, yeah. So, and you and I have talked about tanking, and I'm wishy-washy on it, because like when the Vikings were 4-8, I wasn't a big fan of winning a bunch of football games to get to 9-8, and then instead of getting had they lost all their games, they'd be drafting like 5th or 6th. Now they're drafting 18. There's a big difference. I mean, you can find a great player at 18. Randy Moss is a prime example, right? And you can even find guys in the 6th round. Tom Brady's another example. But the further up you pick, in theory, the better chance you get. Plus, every ensuing round after that, you're further up. But again, to convince players to tank is difficult to do. Players don't want to do that. They're fighting for contracts. They don't want to get hurt, don't want to embarrass themselves, and they play to win. The only person that can really control the tanking is the coaching staff, right? Where all of a sudden you have a head coach that calls a more conservative game. They stay in base defenses. They don't really do a lot to try to counteract what the other team's doing. Bench certain players, and not when I say bench, not because they're not playing well, but just you play backups a little bit more, and you look at Darisaw and go, yeah, I think you're right. Your knee's bad. You sit out the rest of the season. JJ, why don't you hold your guys off? And I guess to a certain extent I can understand that. NBA, I don't know. Do you think there's any room for tanking or not?
Is there room for tanking?
Well, what I mean, do you think there's room for it in the end? Like, would you, if you were a fan of a team, could you accept the fact that your team is not really trying to win games because they want to get the number 1 pick or number 2 or number 3 pick overall?
I mean, would I want my NBA or NFL team that's mathematically eliminated to lose as many games as possible because you have no chance of making the playoffs? But, the NBA, we've seen it here. Anthony Edwards transformed this franchise. Yeah. You got the number 1 pick that year, and now Anthony Edwards is here, and now you have a chance to win. You have a chance to go to the NBA Finals every year now, as long as Ant is here. So, especially in basketball, where one player means so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can transform your franchise. It's not worth trying to win those last couple games. NFL is a little harder to do, but clearly if you get a big-time quarterback towards the top of the draft, that can transform your franchise. We saw what Drake May did to New England Patriots. Seems like it's a little harder to spot out those franchise players in the NFL compared to the NBA. What about this for an anti-tanking philosophy?
Okay.
I feel like I've heard this somewhere, and I apologize if I'm butchering the exact way to do it. But the thought is the way you determine the draft order in the NBA is by which team gets the most wins after you're mathematically eliminated.
Oh.
So if you are eliminated from a playoff spot with 12 games to go in the NBA season and you won 5 of your last 12 games, you would get like 5 points. And then whoever has the highest amount of points. So obviously the teams that are in the playoff mix as long as possible are going to have less games to try to tank. But once teams are mathematically eliminated, it would keep them playing. They're trying to win as many games as possible. I would like to see that idea come to fruition.
Well, here's a Saturday story from the Associated Press. Dateline Inglewood, it says, Greg Beecham writes the piece. It says, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver believes teams are tanking more aggressively this season than the league has seen in recent years. He is considering many possible remedies to ensure real competition, from taking away draft picks to making wholesale changes to the draft and lottery. Silver immediately addressed the hottest topic in NBA circles Saturday in his annual address and during the All-Star weekend, making it clear the NBA will do almost anything to make sure teams earnestly compete. Thursday, the league issued a $500,000 fine to the Jazz, a $100,000 penalty to the Pacers for sitting healthy players, believing their apparent tanking actions compromised the league's competitive integrity. Here's what he said. Are we seeing behavior that is worse this year than we've seen in recent memory? Yes, in my view, which was what led to those fines, and not just those fines, but to my statement that we're going to be looking more closely at the totality of all circumstances this season in terms of teams' behavior, and very intentionally wanted teams to be on notice. Silver knows that strong words and six-figure fines might not be nearly enough to compel struggling teams to commit to real competition instead of improving their odds in what's expected to be one of the deepest drafts in recent history, and that's why the NBA is looking at stronger solutions. He says the league is 80 years old. It's time to take a fresh look at this and see whether that's an antiquated way of going about it, the current process. Ultimately, we need a system to fairly distribute players. It's in the players' interest as well as the teams that you have a level of parity around the league. There's only so many jobs in so many cities, but we've got to look at some fresh thinking here. I mean, what we're doing, what we're seeing right now is not working. NBA's competition committee is re-examining the structure of the draft lottery for any ways to minimize the upside of tanking. The commissioner also acknowledged that the fines could conceivably be followed by the revocation of draft picks from tanking teams. Silver said there is talk about every possible remedy now to stop this behavior. And I don't know what the answer. That's why they're probably talking about it day in, day out now. And I have to admit, it's hard for me to argue with the team wanting when you know your team is out of it. My issue is the same as it becomes with NBA players not trying during games, right? When with the Wolves, is anybody that listens knows it's something that gets stuck in my craw where they just basically say we're not playing. I mean, Gobert called the whole team out for not playing defense because then you're cheating the ticket buying public. But if the franchise is tanking, you're doing the same thing. So, I don't know. It's just another reason why the NBA is the worst of the four major leagues.
The NBA has a regular season problem.
Yeah,
there's a reason they tried to create a tournament in the middle of the season to create hype. We've heard about load management and how popular that's become over the last 13, 14 years, where these guys just don't take regular season games seriously, and then teams now tanking in January is not going to help that either. Right.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. And so where it goes from here remains to be seen. So Law Murray writes for The Athletic, and they have their NBA power rankings post All-Star break, tend to be. All season long, it's been pretty much a given that the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champs, particularly the way they started. They were 20-1 or 22-1 before then they went on a stretch where I think for the next dozen games they played 500 ball. Right now they have the Detroit Pistons at number 1. This is the tier 1 top contenders. They have it in different tiers. Tier 1 Pistons, followed by Spurs, Thunder, Knickerbockers, and the Celtics. They say those are your top tier contending teams. Tier 2, described as in a good place, would be the Cavs at 6, Nuggets at 7, Rockets at 8, and that's the end of in a good place. Then there's the bubble. Lakers at 9, Timberwolves at 10. Here's what they write. He doesn't write anything. He doesn't really say anything about it. He just starts talking about the All-Star Weekend moment when Edwards won the award. But for the Wolves to be at 10 after being a Western Conference finalist,
as I say, the last 2 years,
yeah, and now
it's a little surprising.
Well, and I think it's because I think people take seriously what players say. The old actions speak louder than words. Okay, then I need to see some more actions because right now their words speak louder to me. When you see Gobert call out the club, Ant basically said, "I know I have to play. I got to figure out a way to get myself to." I'm paraphrasing, but I have to figure out a way to get myself to play defense every game. And so, until they make that decision, now we're in the stretch run. 25 or so games left in the regular season, and this is where if I remember correctly, that's last year. That's when Julius Randle came back from an injury, and he really played well, and the team really made a great push. I mean, they played well. They got to the 6th seed, and they ended up getting to the Western Conference Finals before getting bounced by, I think it was the Thunder 4-1. Maybe they'll do that again. Maybe a lot of teams, if you can tank games and you can take time off, the Wolves do seem like a lot of these NBA teams. At least they believe they can turn it on and off like a switch, and sometimes it looks like they can. You'll see them play. I've talked about this forever. You'll see them play some of the better teams in the league. They can come off a terrible game against one of the bottom feeders, and the next night, or one day off, and the next night, they're suddenly They look like they're a contender for the NBA Finals. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm not. I guess the kid they got from Chicago is a real nice piece that they needed to add. So I guess they're a quality club. We just have to let the chips fall where they may. Just hopefully they decide they want to try and play defense throughout the playoffs as well. Meanwhile.
I feel like they should be in the same tier with like Denver at this stage.
Yeah.
Given postseason success over the last couple of years, they're right next to them in the regular season or the current regular season standings.
Yeah,
they're a game and a half back of Denver.
Yeah,
they're in the same tier.
I tend to agree with you, but they need to prove that out on the court. But you're right, they should be. How is it still Canada and the United States? They're on a collision course on the men's side for the
the women they are
right.
The women they're going to play each other for the gold medal.
When is that game?
That is Thursday, I believe.
Okay.
I think it's at like noon. I think we should just carry that game right here on the fan. That's a big game. It's USA versus Canada. The men are going to get an unfortunate draw here.
Ooh.
So they got the top 4 seeds got a bye.
Is this excuse computer or not?
I'm just speaking the truth.
Okay.
I'm just speaking the truth. If you went into the Olympics, I would have said on paper USA and Canada are the top 2 teams. I would have said Sweden's number 3. Well, out of the pool play, Sweden, because of their loss to, did they lose to Slovakia or Finland? I forget which one. But they had a loss in pool play. And so now they got the 7 seed. Once you get towards like the medal round area. And so they're playing Latvia right now. I'll have to check the updated score. Last time I checked, they were up 2-0 on Latvia. So if they beat Latvia, which they will, they would face the USA in the quarterfinals. Yes, still 2-0 Sweden leads over Latvia. I'm not sure at what time that is in the game. I think that's probably first period or after the first period. So USA is going to play what I would consider one of the top 3 teams at the Olympics, and you lose, you're done. You don't even get a medal. So it's not a favorable draw. Now, if they win, they would face Slovakia or Germany in the semis, which would be a favorable draw. So got to sneak by Sweden.
Do you think, would you think, from an honest, neutral observer, Canada and the United States, are they coin flip, or is one considered maybe a little better than the other?
I think Canada has more offensive firepower.
Okay.
McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, and then, Macklin Celebrini, the 19-year-old kid who I think is already a top 10 player in the National Hockey League at the age of 19. He's had a great Olympics. Nobody can match the firepower of the top 2 lines of Canada.
Okay.
The question with Canada is always going to be goaltending. which Jordan Binnington, as erratic as he's been throughout his career, he has moments that when the spotlight's on him the biggest, he plays good. He's won a cup with St. Louis. He helped them win the Four Nations. He's had international success. So Binnington is a complete wild card. You don't know if you're going to get brilliant Binnington or brutal Binnington. USA might have a little more depth than Canada. Maybe they're a little bit better on defense. So it would be a matter of, clearly you play Canada, you got to slow down their top guys and stay out of the penalty box.
All right, as we get ready to toss it over to Barrera,
but now we got to get by the tough Sweden team first.
As we get ready to turn it over to Big Ticket and JG, I'm going to do the equivalent of yelling fire in a crowded theater. This is going to be controversial. Could it be possible Sweden tanked it so they could play the United States first and then guarantee themselves at least a silver medal against what you just said, more firepower? Canada might be a slightly better than the United States. Speaking of tanking, could Sweden have tanked it against that game in which they were supposed to win? Your thoughts?
I don't think you want to tank it and play one of the best two teams.
Well, you have to play one of the best two either, didn't you? Either way, they would have to get through United States, right, or Canada.
Wow.
And if Canada's the better team...
It's hockey. Someone else can pull off
I think they tanked it. I'm going to make that accusation. I think Sweden tanked, so they won.
You think it's more favorable for them to have the 7 seed than, say, the 3 seed?
Yes. At least if they don't have to meet Canada now until the gold medal game, yes.
Well, if you're the 3 seed, you still could have avoided Canada until the gold medal game.
How?
Well, because you're on the 2 seed side of the bracket. 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6.
I see. Okay. Well, then there goes.
I'm not going to go ahead with your tanking theory on the Olympics.
Well, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to say they tanked it.
I don't think wanting U.S. They're saying the same thing. Dang it, we have USA in the quarterfinals. With the odds of us winning a medal have gone down.
If Sweden wins, would it be not as big as 1980? But
it would not be a huge upset. No, it would be a very minor upset.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We enjoyed our visit. Tomorrow, Oak at 1:15 for Rock Talk. Rosen just before 2. Stick around. Big Ticket, JG. They are next. Right here on the Fan.
Well done, young man.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.